now a special report on the controversy surrounding academic achievement in early education, the preschool years through second grade. The controversy continues in early education between academic learning versus play based learning and what, if any, measurable outcomes can be seen. Questions still arise in the early education community. If research supports the far reaching impact of play based experiences through second grade, both socially and academically, why are academic structured learning models still the dominating strategies in classrooms across the nation? According to Deborah Stipek, a professor of education at Stanford University, young children learn best by doing. Stipek visited one pre-K classroom where the children were drilled in number recitation and could count to 10 from memory. But hands-on activities were less common. And when Stipek put some pennies down on a table and asked how many pennies there were, the children had no clue. They knew their numbers, but not what that meant. With academic direct instruction, the teacher leads the learners along a very mapped out and specific path with a specific goal to achieve. But with active learning, when materials are given to children to explore, it was found that these children discovered additional uses of the materials and pieces not covered in direct instruction. Engaging actively with the environment and materials, children learn creativity and problem-solving skills, which are not employed in the direct instruction method of learning. Active play is not the only influence on learning in play-based programs. Successful programs also include an environment that supports learning. For instance, language and literacy-rich environments help children develop their ideas about symbols, the printed word, and oral language. And it is not just a deeper knowledge construct that is impacted by play-based learning. Opportunities for the developing child to acquire social and emotional learning are embedded in active play. Studies show that the amount of dramatic play preschool children engage in influences future social competence. Children with less dramatic play encounter more social problems, including expulsions, in their continuing years. One study highlights the value of active play in learning when the pushdown for literacy academics in preschool was shown to improve when physical activity was integrated into the lessons. It concluded that by integrating physical movement, a big part of play-based learning, that young children were able to achieve greater strides in literacy learning by activating, through body movement, their concentration, memory, cognitive processing, and classroom behavior, executive functions that direct instruction too often cannot tap into. Supporting active learning is Rebecca Marcon, a developmental psychologist and education researcher at the University of North Florida in Jacksonville, who followed the research on play-based learning and its impact on children's language, self-help, social, motor, and adaptive development, along with basic skills. What we found in our research then, and in ongoing studies, is that children who were in play-based preschool programs showed stronger academic performance in all subject areas measured compared to children who had been in more academically focused programs. According to Marcon and other researchers, children who are subjected to overly academic environments early on have more behavior problems later and are less likely to be enthusiastic, creative learners and thinkers. She states, "You will frequently get short-term gains with a highly academic approach in preschool, but they come with a long-term consequence. A lot of early childhood studies only follow children to third grade, but then when you take it into fourth grade and beyond is where you see the big difference. That's when children have to be more independent and think." Nancy Carlson Page, professor emerita at Lesley University and author of Taking Back Childhood, writing for the Alliance for Childhood, notes the gains for young learners in play-based programs. She says, "Active play promotes a deeper understanding of concepts for preschoolers and kindergartners, learned through playful, hands-on experiences with materials, the natural world, and engaging, caring adults, providing greater gains than academic-focused programs." When it comes to the current Common Core standards for reading in kindergarten, research simply does not support the rigors of academic expectations. It actually causes harm to students when focusing extended time on reading instruction and leaving little time for much-needed activities during this time of their development. A number of long-term studies do point to greater gains for students in play-based programs. One study compared 50 kindergarten classes using each of the two approaches. The children were followed through grade 4, and those from the play-based program excelled over all others on all 17 measures, including being more advanced in reading and mathematics and being better adjusted socially and emotionally in school. In rebuttal to Carlson Page's position, Gene Stockard, Director of Research and Evaluation at the National Institute for Direct Instruction, contends this depiction is directly contrary to the nature of well-run preschools and kindergartens that use a direct instructional model. When instruction is carefully designed, clear, explicit, and logically ordered, children can learn more quickly and progress more rapidly. Students learn more largely because the material is logically arranged, carefully field tested, and designed so that students can master each element before proceeding to the next lesson. Students can learn the material more quickly because teaching demonstrations are clear, using only vocabulary that students already know. While it is possible that the depiction of academic early education given by Carlson Page and Associates may reflect some settings and some curricula, academic early education need not and should not produce unhappiness and stress for students or for teachers. Drill, endless worksheets, unhappiness, and a lack of play are, in fact, the antithesis of a well-run, direct instructional school at any level. In a well-run program, the joy of learning is manifest. Moreover, because learning is efficient, there is plenty of time for students to play. In a well-run direct instruction school, play is not and should not be eliminated. Adding to the controversy of play-based or academic learning in the classroom is the level of academics expected at any given age, when the precursor of knowledge construct hasn't yet been established in these young learners. David Elkind, a professor and department chairman of the Elliott Pearson Department of Child Development at Tufts University and a prominent voice for developmentally appropriate learning and education, says this: a sound knowledge of child development is the only basis on which an effective and successful educational practice can be implemented in this country. For instance, in the debate on reading in kindergarten, previously addressed by Carlson Page, Elkind notes that while a few children might be extraordinary readers, the vast majority of human brains aren't developed enough to truly learn reading or math concepts until they've reached the age of reason, typically at age 5 or 6, when they can understand interval units, a series of relationships in numbers and letters. As Elkind further explains, the shortcomings of push-down academics and the current policy on achievement highlights the need for active learning to construct knowledge that makes future content easier to comprehend. When decimals were taught in the 6th grade, it took the students about a week to grasp the idea, and when they did, they had a firm understanding of it. When, however, decimals are taught in the 4th grade, it takes the children about a month to learn them, and many do not retain what they learn. A second example comes from science education. In some schools, experimentation is now taught at the elementary level, but children are naturally inclined to the natural history stage of inquiry, not to experimentation. Children have a special talent for observing, classifying, and collecting. Instead of building on these talents and reinforcing the child's sense of curiosity and invention, we teach experimentation, which may only confuse and turn off a youngster who might well be a fine scientist later. Elkin further explores these issues in his books, The Hurried Child, Miseducation, Preschoolers at Risk, and The Power of Play, Learning What Comes Naturally. One of the biggest controversies in academic learning models is that too often teachers are teaching the list of skills instead of teaching the skills on the list. We also know that research indicates teachers believe play is an important part of their curriculum, yet they often fail to plan for play experiences and rely on their instincts in lieu of specific goals and objectives for play. Proponents of play-based learning believe these skills are naturally acquired through play-based activities. Yet even then, as Anne Epstein, author of The Intentional Teacher, explains, it takes an educator experienced in child development, developmental stages, and developmentally appropriate practices to rightfully facilitate play-based learning. children's experiences and knowledge construct in the early childhood classrooms. Epstein, while a proponent of active play, offers educators the balanced approach. She states, in the balanced approach, everyone is active. Children's interests and developmental levels help to shape adult-guided experiences, while adults use their knowledge and observations to decide when and how to intervene in child-guided experiences. Play-based learning does not imply less work for the teacher. By being present and on the child's eye level during play, teacher interactions increase the frequency, duration, and complexity of children's play, with increased levels of linguistic and cognitive competence. Both the Association for Childhood Education International and the National Association for the Education of Young Children not only recognize and uphold the need for play as an essential part of early childhood education, but have also written guidelines and best practice policies for teachers to successfully navigate both academic and play-based learning as an integrated approach to teaching. Looking back at the controversy, the problem is that those in the arena are adamant to fight to protect their viewpoint. In one corner is play-based active learning, fighting to preserve a full-day program of play to protect and provide for the child's natural development. And in the other corner is direct instruction, academic learning, where the belief is that if 1 hour a day achieves positive academic results, then providing a full day schedule of teacher-directed lectures and worksheets must lead to even greater academic results. In the end, it isn't in the hands of the child where optimal learning will occur. It is in the hands of the teacher, who can bring both learning approaches into the child's day, providing meaningful instruction that integrates hands-on active learning, exploring, and experimentation. Stipek sums up both the shortcomings and strengths of the controversy over play-based learning versus academic learning this way. That kind of teaching is much more difficult, and it takes a lot of training. It's much easier to lecture and pass out worksheets or to let kids engage in non-purposeful and disorganized play, simply ensuring they don't beat each other over the head with blocks. Yet really effective teaching is both playful and organized. So, in the midst of the battle over learning dominance, can't we just shake hands, step out of the ring, and begin to work together for the sake of the children? This concludes our special report on controversy in education.